Looking for a nonfiction read that is not only timely, but also may save your life? A super short, information-packed read about how to end a pregnancy even when it's illegal. Not to mention, you can read it for free. Then you should pick up Abortion Pill Zine, a community guide to Misaprostole and Mifepristone by Isabella, Rotman, Marnie, Galloway, and Sage Coffey, published by Silver Sprocket in 2024. Hello and welcome. My name is Misaprostole, they, he, she, and we're AI free. I picked this title up because I want to read every comic book about reproductive justice and specifically anything pro-abortion. I first heard about this back in March of 2025 through an interview the creators gave with the Final Straw radio podcast entitled Bodily Autonomy and Health Education in an Easy to Swallow Package. Silver Sprocket has also published the zine for free reading on silversprocket.net. The zine is also licensed under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International, rather than a traditional copyright. The content included at the start of this slim volume reads, quote, "This zine contains information about abortion with medications and discusses barriers to safe abortion. This content may be upsetting for some readers," end quote. I might also add that there are a couple of diagrams of uteruses. Very cognizant that the legal landscape of the United States is uneven and subject to change, I appreciated how they balanced providing information through the zine and directing people to ways they can find the most up-to-date information as safely as possible, online or by phone. The publisher's summary is, quote, "Access to safe abortion is a human right. This short zine explains one kind of abortion with the use of pills, misoprostol and mifepristone. Abortion is vital health care and part of comprehensive sexual health. This zine aims to provide readers with accessible information about the pills, mifepristone and misoprostol as options to manage abortion. Created by pro-choice community members, it covers the medical abortion process step by step, including what to expect, precautions, access, and more. Community knowledge is power, and access to abortion saves lives," end quote. But what do you ask is a zine? Well, maybe you aren't, but it seemed like a good thing to touch on, as despite having read it, albeit digitally at first, because that's all my library had, I still managed to not realize that it would be shelved with the zines, and not the graphic nonfiction at my local comic book store. According to Merriam-Webster, zines are, quote, "a non-commercial, often homemade or online publication, usually devoted to specialized and often unconventional subject matter," end quote. I've always wanted to make a zine, but have always struggled with having something to say that feels worth the effort of saying in that format and actually executing it. This particular zine, not unlike many I see online these days, does feel a tad bit too professional to really truly be a zine, but with the size, format, topics, staple binding, and the Creative Commons license, I don't feel a strong need to nitpick. It's a cool way to get your ideas out into the world analog style, though, and I should prioritize highlighting some more traditional comic zines here that might help them feel a bit more accessible to those of us who are not professional creatives. If you know of any you think would fit my vibe and I could access, feel free to pass those recommendations along. Looking at the creative team behind this title, we have Isabella Rotman, she, they, of Maine. They also wrote and illustrated a quick and easy guide to consent from Limerence Press back in 2020. I'll try and link to my review. The entire A Quick and Easy Guide series is top-notch though. I'm not surprised that someone who worked on them is producing other super helpful graphic nonfiction. Sage Coffey, they, them, was also featured in the very excellent Be Gay, Do Comics, an anthology from the Nib, linked to my review. Besides being featured in a number of other anthologies I've been meaning to read for more than a hot minute now, they also helped co-organize Chicago Alternative Comics Expo from 2019 to 2025 and have done a fair amount of freelance work. And finally, the new to the channel creator is Marnie Galloway, she, her. According to her About page, she is best known for her wordless comic In the Sounds and Seas, which does sound very interesting. Quote, "Marnie lives in Chicago, Illinois with her husband and their 3 young children. She is currently teaching undergraduate comics classes at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, working on her next graphic novel and making science comics for kids every issue of Ask magazine in her role as staff cartoonist," end quote. In the first couple of pages, each contributor gets some space to explain their own relationship with abortions, and I really appreciated this context as it clearly denotes the diversity of perspectives being brought to bear. Looking at the art for this zine and trying to describe it better in case I ever end up publishing this as audio only, the primary color of Abortion Pill Zine is light but vibrant green. A soft shade of black is used for most of the body text and also to increase the readability of colored headers. There are also a few pages where a soft blue and yellow are used to help differentiate parts that are talking about mifepristone and misoprostol, which did help me keep them differentiated in my mind as I read. The illustration style is lightly cartoonish and generally trying to keep things fairly simple. Considering the smaller size of the zine, this makes a fair amount of sense, as too much detail would start getting difficult to take in. It also felt like they were trying to make the topic a bit softer and more approachable, using more rounded visuals. But oh my goodness, they do touch on all the bases, at least as far as people in the States are concerned. After we meet the creative team, the next pages are all about barriers to abortion, including financial barriers and stigma. What is self-managed medical abortion? But is it legal? How do the medications work? Precautions. How to access abortion pills. A suggested planning checklist. What to expect. How to take the medication together or how to take misoprostol by itself. Signs of complications. Self-aftercare. Confirming the abortion was successful. Protecting yourself. And resources for you. All the information you could ask for is broken down into bite-sized chunks and attractively spread out across the page. People, diagrams, and icons all help enhance the text with a fun use of texture and typographical detail that never got in the way of readability. Going on a bit of a tangent based off of my own personal context, as someone who grew up in America who now lives in Canada, I did briefly want to highlight some of the interesting ways in which these two countries approach abortion very differently, as that is, unsurprisingly, not covered in this zine. The most surprising fact for me to learn was that when the Supreme Court of so-called Canada struck down abortion laws they deemed unconstitutional because they violated the bodily autonomy of women, there was no law, even a pro-abortion one, put in its place. I'll try and provide a link to a very dense but interesting explanation from the Abortion Rights Coalition of Canada as to why not having a law is actually much better than having laws of any kind, even if they ostensibly are meant to enshrine access into law. Obviously, that does not mean that there are no issues with accessing abortion in so-called Canada. Access still remains a huge barrier, especially outside of urban centers. Also, different facilities seem to be able to set different standards around how far into the pregnancy they will provide abortions, although there are supposed to be exceptions for medical reasons. There can also be a cost if someone does not have provincial healthcare or is outside of the province where they have healthcare. So there's still plenty of ways for pregnant people to not get the healthcare they are seeking. Misinformation is also still fairly prevalent. Scrolling down the Government of Canada's webpage on abortion, I can appreciate that they do include a fairly eye-catching call-out that crisis pregnancy centers are, quote, usually run by anti-abortion organizations. They often look like clinics or support centers. They are designed to discourage people from getting an abortion, end quote. That said, these centers are still largely able to continue existing and advertising themselves under these false pretenses in so-called Canada. Concluding this tangent, according to the Center for Reproductive Rights, as of the time of this recording, self-managed abortion is legal in so-called Canada, although misoprostol and mifepristone technically require a prescription. Moving back towards our regular programming and looking at the themes, identities, and/or intersections I tried to reflect on in each of my reviews, place, that is, the zine being about the so-called United States, does play a pretty big role in what information was included in the zine. That said, I've still been recommending it to a lot of my friends up here in Canada because the information about misoprostol and mifepristone is internationally relevant, and being more comfortable with self-managed abortions seems like a really important skill to develop. While we don't get much as far as character development goes, the creators' avatars being the closest we get, I suppose, I really appreciated the diversity of figures represented. The example people in this short volume come in a wide variety of shapes, disabilities, colors, genders, and facial features. The disclaimers at the front also include a note about how the abortion pill zine is, quote, a gender-inclusive resource, noting that people of all genders can get pregnant and may need to access abortion. It perhaps goes without saying that there is also no default to heterosexuality either. In such a short volume, we don't get a super deep dive into the way that income and class can impact people's access to abortion, but there is a note about how, quote, not everyone can afford to travel or to take time off for recovery, end quote, which felt sufficient to me given the length and context. That said, I was very surprised by the complete omission of any information about how women in Brazil Brazil, where abortion was illegal, discovered that misoprostol, branded as cytotec, could induce abortions. Obviously, there wouldn't be room for any great deep dive, but given the zine is about taking our reproductive health into our own hands, it seems like this kind of story would be exactly the kind of thing readers of such a zine would find interesting. Wrapping things up, I am giving it 5 stars, certainly disappointed with that final note, but I also appreciate having something so readable, self-aware, informative, and concise to share in the face of feeling pretty powerless right now. Bye y'all, keep reading, and remember that all colonial settler states are a lie. And Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.